So today we're going to talk about Community. Yeah. I've come to talk about Community because I think Community made a small mistake, because I think they Britta themselves.
She Britted it.
And yes, I could talk about all the great things that this series has to offer, like Abed and his meta language, or Donald Glover as Troy, because that is just amazing. However, today we're going to talk about how the premise for a character with so much power as Britta got left behind and turned into someone to be sadly ashamed of. I'm not going to address her ups and downs through the seasons. Instead, I think I actually ended up making more of a character study. Anyways, if you want me to talk about all the other great things that this series has, you can leave it in the comment section below because I can work my way there. Spoilers ahead, so if you haven't watched Community, I recommend you do before watching this video, and if you had, so just enjoy. Community starts on season 1 as a fresh comedy in which characters make continuous allusions to the series itself. Pop culture and critical issues are addressed from the beginning in a sarcastic but quite impressive way. Britta is born to give a sense of reality and human nature to a bunch of crazy heads. She is the supposedly one character who constantly chooses to criticize the real problems of society when we meet her. But that idea soon fades away. In the pilot, she is introduced as one of the two main characters, inside what actually is a seven-center show. Even at the end of the first episode, Britta stood briefly as the leader of the newborn study group, as everyone turned on her to make a decision about Jeff, which settles her as the female lead. She doesn't usually hold on to that responsibility, mainly because of how Jeff is portrayed, as how the others look up to him as if he's some kind of god or something like that, and on the other part because of the changes that the writers introduced to the character that Britta was at the beginning of the series. Britta is introduced by Jeff.
What's the deal with the hot girl from Spanish class? I can't find a road in there.
So, as it concerns us, she's a love interest. And if we dig a bit, we will know that that's how they conceived Britta as a character. Just a match for the male lead. So yeah, as this worked out, Britta was the female lead. Her character is based on strong political issues and moral rights, which makes it easier to understand why she tries to make everyone feel comfortable while teaching them. That can be a little annoying, I know that, but they know too.
You're like Jodie Foster or Susan Sarandon. You'd rather keep it real than be likable.
But as Lajo Segri explains in The Art of Dramatic Writing, if you write about love, you should write about great love. If you write about ambition, it should be ruthless ambition. They generate conflict. That's the reason that she needs that personality. That's the reason that Britta is Britta. It generates conflict. They should have written about radical political issues if they were going to write about political issues at all. Due to that, it is good that she makes us feel bad people or that sometimes she gets too annoying, because she makes us feel. On the other hand, it is true that the series doesn't need that character who makes them think about what is wrong and what is right, because most of them give some thought to racism, homophobia, or social tensions as a group, through jokes and disapprovals usually.
Surely, that's the most racist thing I've ever heard.
But even if we don't need her, she's there. That's her character. We don't need Jeff, who is a jerk. We don't need a jerk in our lives. But I see no one complaining about Jeff. Overall, she does get a nice setup for a character to evolve, because conflict and crisis are the going forward for characters. Yes, she's to focus on her own thing, but she has a thing to focus on, to develop from, to grow. And it can create conflict. It can create external and internal conflict. So that's such a great thing for a character. People will fight over this, but what makes Britta a character is something that breaks her apart soon enough for her to grow from. You know, the conflict and crisis part of a character that they need to experience to develop more than one dimension. But that's good, you know. Give her some space and she will evolve. In the first episode, she explicitly tells us what she is for.
Alright, you wanna know my deal? My deal is, above all else, honesty.
Honesty.
Yeah.
So, it is no surprise that when she understands that online activism is not enough and she realizes that her whole identity is not much more than words, she falls apart.
Sounds like somebody has the case of likes to use fringe politics to make themselves feel special, but doesn't actually ever want to do anything. Itis.
No, I do things. I went to... I don't do anything.
Personally, I can't blame her because she didn't know. She felt like she was doing something. Besides, I don't know if you're familiar with the term dropped after the pilot. It literally means to leave something behind from a character or even a character after the pilot, after the first episode. So in this case, Dan Harmon explained that they ran some tests to see if Community was likable. And we don't know if it was just the pilot or the first few episodes, but the thing is that in those tests, people didn't really like Brita. So they decided to leave that part of her behind. Okay, I understand. They broke the feminist, strong personality because 2009 society was not ready for it, but they didn't change anything. They didn't give her another opportunity, a second chance. Not at all. And 6 freaking seasons should have been enough. Instead of giving her a second chance, they decided to make her the butt of the joke. In the next 2 seasons, we get a better idea of what Brita is and isn't. She's a dropout.
20-something dropouts.
Who wanted to impress some anarchist and made herself a bit too loose and then wanted to return to study because she was 30 and had no future ahead. So, okay, relatable to some people. The decisions she made in the past bring her to defend moral rights, so she holds the negative liberal stereotype. At the beginning of the show, when she speaks up, the study group gives a thought to what she says. It doesn't matter if they are going to laugh or ignore it later on, but she takes the place of Jiminy Cricket. However, the Guatemala events affects her emotionally. Now, everything that is being done or said to her is important to the position she holds on the group. She becomes insecure, but she gets too open to the group as well. We don't have the loner activist that Brita used to be. Now we have a mom of the group who can laugh and be a little bit silly sometimes. So now she doesn't have to fight with her own head all the time. We have a character that has a base, but she also has layers. Let's see how these layers develop. The first one is based on how she's attracted to men. Typical, but kind of necessary. She's the love interest of Jeff through the first season. This storyline is based on the same idea every time. Brita likes men who are broken. Not the very first time that we see this on TV, not a very original idea, but hey, let's see how it works. Because she's a feminist, or she used to be, so it is going to be interesting to see how they may both parts of herself combine.
Oh, hey, Spanish.
Yeah, don't hit on me, okay?
Even if they are set as a couple by the series from the beginning, she denies liking Jeff for quite a long time. She even dates Vaughn. I believe this is the only nice relationship she gets through the whole show, apart from Troy. The reason behind this is because the main plot wasn't Brita's relationship, but how Jeff reacts to them. Actually, the episode is more focused on how Shirley and Jeff laugh at Vaughn than how she is feeling. I'm sure that if the episode was Brita-centered, Vaughn would have been some kind of lunatic or God knows what. Just to match her layer of broken men. Such a different perspective is taken later on when the one dating Vaughn is Annie. Suddenly it's okay. They still laugh about him, but hey, if it makes Annie happy, that's okay. A thing that didn't matter at all when it was Brita's boyfriend. Okay, so not very supportive. Keep this in mind. As soon as that relationship fades away, because of Jeff, Shirley, and the rest of the group, Brita comes back to her main purpose, being in love with Jeff. Yes, I know, in between Jeff has a girlfriend and they split up and then get together again and I don't know how many other things, but I don't care right now. As the season goes through and Brita understands that suddenly she's in love with Jeff, we come across a character problem. So, if you have seen the series, you have noticed how Annie starts to get attention after getting over Troy. The looks, the smiles, and the kisses. As soon as she steps on Jeff's side, Brita lowers to a second place. Annie is the new love interest of the main lead. How does this affect Brita? It affects her very much. As long as she's not the love interest, she becomes nothing. Her storylines become duller, lesser, and dumber. Anyways, they never really dated, Britta and Jeff. The only time that they hooked up later on was when Ave discovered and told the group, so they stopped.
It's not you, it's me.
you.
I would have very much pleased if their relationship as a couple would have stopped there, but I don't know why they had to almost get married 2 times. I think that was enough. Too much.
What in God's name are you two doing?
Getting married?
Up to this point, the love stories of Britta have been weird and highly unsupported by the group. Not like this changes, to be honest. Soon enough, we meet Blade, and we understand a side of Britta we have briefly seen before. She's attracted to people who look less stable than herself, or something like that.
And the first nice thing he says and you're over him? Who hurt you? And why didn't it stick?
We have no understanding of this behavior when they present it to us. We could have had an explanation which would have made so much sense if the writers would have put a bit of love into writing Britta. This is related to her parents because, as we know, their relationship has been kind of difficult, mostly because of how strict they were with Britta, so no wonder that she actually went really loose growing up, but on the other part because she said it herself.
Tell me about your parents, Britta.
No.
What was he wearing?
He was dressed as a dinosaur.
Is that why you dropped out of high school?
I don't know.
She says that she was molested by a person in a dinosaur costume, and when she told their parents, they didn't believe her. So, you had one behavior about men, and you had one reason. You just couldn't put it together. You didn't even give it a thought. So that's how bad written Britta is. It was in front of their faces the whole time. Not even a line. Besides, not to talk about the weird relation that Abed and Annie have with her parents. What? Another great trait that Britta has is that she is a relentless helper. She is too familiar with having to deal with the deep pit of self-hatred on a daily basis. So it is understandable that she becomes almost immune to being judgmental of others who experience it. The result of this shows up every time she doesn't hesitate to help someone, even if that means degrading her own persona. She never gives up on any of her friends because she knows what failure makes you feel.
Thank you. I really appreciate you helping me out.
And I appreciate the opportunity. Sometimes I think people don't take me seriously.
She's always there to help them. This part of Britta is clearly explained by the actress, Gillian Jacob, who realizes that she just kept going no matter how much people made fun of her.
You'd be a lot more likable
If I never did anything for anybody ever?
Yeah, because when you help people, that always turns out great.
After all she gets over with, she should realize how much she's worth.
I am a phony. I try to act compassionate because I'm afraid that I'm not.
Oh, please. I invented phony. You care about people. I accuse you of faking to convince myself I'm not such a jerk.
Related to this, we have another great trait of Britta. She discovers that she wants to work as a psychologist and actually puts a lot of effort into it. She's right a lot of times. Do they know that? Do Jeff and the rest of the study group know that she is clearly right in most of the things that she says about them? But also, and sadly, this path that she chooses to go through becomes the start of making her the butt of the joke. It is true that all characters become goofier as the show progresses because, there's no complaint, it's a comedy after all. But the problem is that while Annie becomes more loose, Britta becomes a joke. I'm not saying she gets dumb, that's the surface if so. The thing is that she becomes dumber progressively and doesn't stop. My main interest in this essay is to understand how they went from
You're the heart of this group.
to
You seemed smarter than me when I met you.
in less than 3 seasons. I guess it all starts with the word bagel, or bagel, as Britta would say.
I may have been thrown off by Britta's pronunciation of the word bagel.
How do you pronounce bagel?
I don't.
Come on.
Bagel.
You're the worst.
After this brief but important first time Chang addresses Britta as the worst, it is going to be the recurring laugh, the first of many terms or ways they call her through the series. They start to ignore Britta and tear her down because of her interests, political opinions, lovers, or times she tries to help. Britta is not the worst in one episode, she's the worst every time she speaks.
Knock, knock! Who's there? Cancer! Oh, good! Come on in! I thought it was Britta!
She's the worst for ruining the idea of guys that she's dated. She's the worst for being nice the first time she speaks with Troy's grandma. She's the worst because she wants to help their friends. Or maybe she's the worst because she won't buy her one-eyed cat a monocle. But let's take perspective. Why is she the worst? Can she be the worst because she was written by a man? Dan Harmon explained that some plot lines, such as the one in which Shirley hates Britta for not being able to understand the bathroom tradition, came from other writers telling him how much Britta sucked. Hilary Wilson, who is a writer from the show, said, and I quote, "I wouldn't trust her if I was a woman. I understand that she means well and that she's saying the kinds of things that you're supposed to say as a woman. But that's what makes me not trust her. I need a confidant behind the scenes. Because the truth is, I do want to talk about shoes sometimes, and I feel like she might sell me out if I did that. And I wouldn't go pee with her." So Britta is a female written by a man who made her suck to a point that no other females will relate to her. And I don't mean we can't hate women. I'm saying that Britta wasn't born like that. Britta wasn't born to be hated. Pierce was born to be hated. His character is the worst, literally, but not Britta. It was just her writers who found it convenient to turn her character that way. And Dan Harmon really thought those were just layers which got a multidimensional character. But the problem Community has on writer females isn't a secret. Shirley, Annie and Britta characters have nothing to do against Abed, Troy or Jeff. Anyways, back to Britta. I mean, we have seen that she's the worst, but is she really? The problem is that when we start the series, when she says, people take it into account. But now, they don't. They think it's just nonsense. When she is right sometimes. I mean, not always, but she does get things right. And they don't give her any accountants on that.
You're gonna think I'm joking, but you were getting through to me more with mustard on your lips.
Oh, shut up.
Wait, unless she has mustard on her face, right? The spirit of Community lands on hating Britta. And then we stop by episode 5 on the 3rd season, where we meet a quite psycho-obsessed and naive character. No one takes her seriously and she tries by all mediums not to feel undermined by it. At this point, they even start to use her as an insult, a synonym for making a small mistake.
You probably just Britted the test results somehow.
No, I double-checked them. Wait, are people using my name to mean make a small mistake?
Yes.
We are so used to Britta messing everything up or getting things wrong that we get a word for describing how she's behaving and that is her own name. Then again, Britta is sensitive and tries to get cooler by using it, but doesn't really help anything, because of course she's going to Britta continuously.
We should never make the Britta of Britta-ing each other's feelings.
You're using it wrong. Wow, you Britted.
Yeah, way to pull an Abed.
Season 3 is a life changer. Her character depends onto new stuff about her life, but the study group also discovers new flaws. The Britta insult and the repetitive "she's the worst" become the only part her character shows. And as the question raised before, has she become dumber or has the group taken her less seriously? Many people think, and I include myself in there, that the problem is how she's portrayed because she's not Britta anymore. The character we've met in season 1 is not the character that we see on season 3. I mean, they are opposites. They don't have the same essence at all. There's no discussion that everything about her character has changed. Even the way she acts. She looks goofy when she's explaining things or even by just standing. She may not say something stupid, but they made her act like she would be saying them. And no, I don't care at all if Jill and Jacob influenced the character. I mean, lots of people have been saying that she became like that because Jill and Jacob is goofier when she talks and when she acts outside of her role. But I mean, she's an actress. Isn't her whole job to be another person when she acts? So I don't get why. I mean, yes, I know it can be influenced, but let's not blame the problem that we have with Brita on Jill and Jacobs. That's not the point. As I was gathering information for the video, I also came across some comments that were saying like, she's not like that all the times, like we only see a part of her, like she's doing other things when we don't see them, like when we don't see the study group interact, like she has other things that we don't see. I mean, I don't think I even have to explain this. It's a series, nothing else happens apart from that. Yes, you can build a character that has information from outside, but I mean, literally that's not what you have to do. Because you can't imagine things that are not happening because you're not the writer, so you don't really know how she's outside the series because there's no outside the series. I mean, this really messed me up. Like, I was so angry when reading these comments because I couldn't believe them. I just couldn't. We get all over the series with a bittersweet feeling about Brita. It is sad because I actually got tired of her by the final seasons. Sometimes it was too embarrassing at how she acted that I would think of skipping her scene. We hate her more than we ever hate Chang.
What is wrong with you?
It's like Chang makes things wrong because he's mentally ill, okay, but with Rita we don't have any excuse, so we can laugh our asses off at her expense. As her character became goofier, not only more jokes were made. The thing is that the group started to see an actual lack of intelligence. That ended being the main reason that she's held as a lesser character. She's not an equal to the group anymore, the same way Pierce did for the whole series. Brita became a failure, became an extension of her previous life. She came to Community seeking for friends and a future, and she got none of them, because, let's be honest, Community doesn't add as a family to Brita. A more natural change would be her losing up and becoming more accepting, not whatever she turned out to be on the later seasons. But as the other characters progress, Brita regresses. Her writing stands out as the more inconsistent one through the series. It is mainly because of a lack of development, a lack of interest. She is never rewarded by the narrative. Brita is never truly happy because when something nice is happening to her, the others laugh or criticize it. The same way that when she's right about something, they won't give her credit. One clear example of this lack of interest in her character becomes obvious when she moves with Annie and Abed. They need someone to move in with them so the rent won't be as high and they will be able to pay for it. It is not a secret, we have a whole episode trying to get a third roommate. However, when Brita moves, she's taken like a lesser flatmate. Even when she's the one working consistently since season 1, she's the one going after to pay rent. And if I don't remember poorly, there were 3 people in the apartment before. And when Troy moved out, then Brita moved in. So why is there no room, not even room, no bed for Brita? Why is she sleeping on the couch? I could use other thousands of times she didn't make any sense, like when she complained about Annie for selling her gender when they were raising money for the old spill, but later on she becomes the love interest of Roger DeSalvo on Grifting 101 for questionable purposes. It looks like there's an insistent effort for having Brita undermined, even when she's the best character in terms of friendship and support. Help Abed at Christmas, help Jeff and his dad, Pierce and his dad, Shirley to get a business even though she's still getting married because she can do both things. Lots of things she did. Brita Perry is a complex and layered character who should have been treated better instead of being disapprehended by the writers of Community. There are some changes for Brita, and yet in other ways she remains very much the same. She's still Briting it, she's still Britney, but I feel like she's on an upward swings in terms of intelligence. She still gets confused and makes mistakes, but she's not an idiot. She's getting some things right now. Occasionally, she's getting things right. Those words were said by Gillian Jacobs in an interview before season 6 aired. So, I have some things to point out here. The first one is, what do you mean by she remains very much the same? So there's no growth. Hasn't been, and is not going to be at the end of the season, at the end of the series. Okay. Okay. And the other is, it feels like she's on an upward swing in terms of intelligence. So you are aware that she became dumber and more stupid, but you're doing anything with that information. I know you're an actress, but to the writers. I don't know. I don't think there's any debate on this. I don't think there can be any discussion. But if you think there's discussion, let's see what Dan Harmon has to say. Sometimes we will cross the line. I did find myself telling the writer's room, let's not make her a dumb blonde. If we made her an airhead, it was an accident, or an isolated instance of us being too tempted by a funny joke. Troy was an airhead. Brita was a work of art. She was a post-feminist masterpiece and a televised work of art, if I do say myself. Hell, yes, she was a work of art. But after you broke her apart, there was no thing. There wasn't anything to work with. He dared to say that they evolved her into one of the most sophisticated characters in TV comedy. How can you say that? Really? How? There's people who like her even in the last seasons. Okay, that's okay. But from that to saying that she's one of the most sophisticated ones? No. Brita has suffered from what we call Flanderization. I don't know if that's the proper pronunciation of it. I have no idea. But it comes from Ned Flanders from The Simpsons. The thing is that when we Flanderize someone, it means that we take a small part, a minor action or trait of a character, and we make of that the character. As TV trope says, it's taking a single, often minor action or trait of a character within a work and exaggerate it more and more over time until it completely consumes the character. Usually, the trait of action becomes completely outlandish and it becomes their defining characteristic. It's normal that it's usually portrayed in sitcoms. I can see it. They fall into this trick of Flanderization because character development is far less important than rule of funny. Given a choice between getting a laugh or moving the story forward, getting the laugh will almost always take priority. It is gradual, but with Brita, her subtle naiveness becomes the character in a way she's not naive, but she's an airhead. If we take the pillow fight episode, Brita's only role is to be bad at photography, while the other characters get actual story beats. While we're laughing with Troy and Abed, we're supposed to laugh at Brita. Nevertheless, yes, I know, there are some plots and some episodes about Brita and her love interest and everything, but we also have a name for that. That's called Forgot Flanders Could Do That. So it is quite self-explanatory by the name. So sometimes you find an episode where the character makes something that hasn't been done for seasons. That's why suddenly Brita is not the worst, but she's okay at the end of an episode because they are family. She can be out of reach for most of an episode, or just her writing can be awful for 19 minutes straight, but in the last one she becomes the best.
Britta, there is something in you that wants to take care of people so bad that you'll do it until you puke. That's what Shirley needs right now.
The main problem I find here is not that she's Flanderized. The problem is that she gets Flanderized by her friends more than she does by the script. So I want to talk about this for a moment.
So maybe we are caught in an endless cycle of screw-ups and hurt feelings.
I'll give you that, Jeff. I think you're right. You're not a family. You've never been, at least to Brita. Because when have you treated her like family? When have you been supportive? Not to her first boyfriend. We talked about this. Not for dating Jeff. Because as seen, Abed literally said that they broke or did something bad to the mood of the group. not for maybe speaking up about things that she cares about, or anytime she speaks at all. As well for organizing a wedding, not supportive. As well for taking psychology as her degree, not supportive at all. Not even when she signed up dramatic arts and Troy did the same, still didn't want to say anything to the group, so she was the only one that was laughed at, so yeah.
Honestly, I couldn't care less if they gave a dog a degree.
Me neither.
In fact, I kind of hope they did.
Well, why is that?
I don't know. They all treat me like I'm a joke. But if a dog got a degree, that means we're all a joke.
There is a point where they expect her to fail no matter how she tries.
That sounds dangerous.
Don't worry. She'll be bad at it.
Plus all the hurtful comments flying around the seasons.
You're more of a fun vampire because you don't suck blood. You just suck.
So we come to the finale with an ending for everyone. All of them had their brief moment of fantasy, freedom, and got to say goodbye. Everyone had evolved or gone for a better opportunity, but Britta doesn't even get a chance. Troy gets an unbelievable adventure after 4 amazing years. Abed moves to LA to chase his dreams, plus an emotional development never seen on film. Annie gets a job as something useful, Shirley gets her life together with a family and a business before she decides to leave all of it behind. Jeff has a real job that he's happy with, Chang just gets friends. And even Pierce got to die and a whole episode on his religious weirdos. Well, that's not fair. Do you know the ending that we get for Britta? A shot where she's still working on a bar and drinks with her friends. Not a single thing in her life has changed or become better. Something that really pisses me off is how Jeff is the only one from the original group who got to say goodbye to Annie and Abed while Britta was working. Lots of people will argue that her relationship with her parents has changed, but has it really changed? Has it made an improvement? She tells her parents about Rick, but they don't know how she's feeling at any moment. She hasn't forgiven them for her awful childhood, and she doesn't feel comfortable telling them things. Characters must grow or develop, but instead she fell. I think she deserved better. I think that the Britta that we got in season 1 could have done amazing things, but we didn't get to that. Even when season 5 took away Troy and Pierce, when the writers could have been able to change the dynamics for Britta, she still wasn't given the opportunity. Taking back more words of Lajos Egri, he understands that a character can grow through making the correct move, as well as the incorrect one, but they must grow if they are a real character. Britta chooses to do a lot of incorrect moves, but as Lajos Egri said, it is no reason for staying the same, for not changing at all. Incorrect moves are not a reason or an excuse to make a character unworthy. She doesn't have aspirations, she doesn't have actual friends, she has lost her last 3 to 6 years. So yes, I'm angry, because take Jeff, okay? Take for a moment the character of Jeff. He doesn't grow either, but at least he gets the warmth of the group. Britta gets indifference.
Oh, Britta's in this?
Community is more than a comedy. It is an experience, quite sloppy and shabby, but hey, I'll give it to them. It is nice to watch. But they breathed it. It's not like they don't have a problem with growth, because they do. But regarding Britta, Community could have done a lot more for her. Anyways, we arrived at the end of the video. Thanks for watching. I don't know how long this is going to be, but if you arrived here, thank you very much. You can subscribe, you can like the video, you can share it with your friends or people who like Community or film analysis. I will be uploading more videos like this, and yeah.